And we are recording, and I'm talking.
And this is another week of Phil and Chase Watch Everything.
We sure do.
This is what, week 6?
I think so. You're better at these things than I am. You'd think I'd know, since I upload everything.
Well, you'd think it'd be on the top of your sheet.
You'd think.
We're week 6.
6. Just real quick.
But no, I'll just keep track. It's okay.
I mean, low-key, I guess I do. I'll keep the note that says episode whatever. So, but not in the notebook that we read out of while we do our thing. Yeah, another week. We left off talking some music, and we're gonna pick back up talking some music.
Yeah. Well,
one might say right from where we left off. Because it was hardly moments after we stopped recording last time that you ran off and watched Once.
Yeah, I sure did, which was kind of funny because we literally just talked about it, and then as you walked out the door, I was hitting play on the movie. I was like, all right, time to watch Once, and then it just
flew by.
It flew by, and it set me on a journey this week.
On a musical journey.
It sure did.
So I guess with fresh eyes, with an older perspective, how are you feeling about Once?
I still enjoyed it. I definitely, could relate to some of the stuff that you're talking about, how it's not really a sad ending and stuff like that. They just kind of just did their own thing.
Yeah.
So I don't know. It was kind of heartbreaking, though, a little bit. Just because, there was, just a lot of build-up.
Yeah.
And then it's just oh, you know what? I'm going to get back with my ex. It's damn, okay.
Yeah. Didn't feel like didn't feel like the right choice. But
they were really starting to build, they were having talks about moving to London together, all kinds of stuff.
Yeah.
In the booth, and then, the next day, he's yeah, I think we're going to go back to London and try to win her back.
What's funny is now that I'm thinking about this, we came into today thinking that music was our main theme. We've also talked about how addiction kind of plays a part in a lot of these stories. But one thing that seems to be a through line through every single one of the things we're talking about today is love. I feel like there's some form of love story at the base of everything, whether that be self-love or romantic love, but especially the music movies we watch. I feel like we'll deal with romantic love in some capacity.
That is true.
But with one, it's I don't know. I feel that way about love in real life these days, where it's it can be so much more than romantic love,
Yeah.
And even with it being romantic, it's almost more romantic in the sense of when you don't get together, then you just kind of have this thing that nobody can take away from me, right. It's not
this one moment in time.
Exactly. Yeah. But yeah, it was nice to watch that one with more mature eyes.
Yeah, for sure.
Still been listening to the soundtrack. Can't get enough of it.
I still think Falling Slowly is probably my favorite song.
Yeah.
Still holds true.
It's great. It's
a timeless song.
It really is.
It really brings a smile to my heart when they started singing it for the first time in the shop.
I just tears the whole time. There's something about, I've said it before, music will make me cry faster than I cried a lot this week. It just something about it when a melody hits and gets under my skin and really pairs with visuals in a way that it just unlocks something in me, and I can't help it. Tears will be streaming down my face whether I realize it or not. I'm just oh.
I definitely got teary-eyed once, but I think twice this week.
Nice.
Definitely brought some emotion.
Yeah.
I was damn.
Well, do you have anything else to add on Once before we move forward?
I don't think so.
That's all that can be said. And we'll watch it again in another, 15 years or something?
Hell yeah. Once part 3.
Yeah. I watched this to start my week. I watched an oldie but a goodie. Nick and Nora's Infinite Playlist.
Oh, yeah. It's been a minute since I've seen that one, but still good.
Yeah. It fit with the music theme. It's funny because I don't think we actually watched any musicals per se. I mean, once, I guess, it was the closest thing to a musical, but even that itself, I feel like it doesn't play by standard musical rules, you know, like it's still musicians making music. It's not people breaking out into song and dance.
Yeah, they're not doing a number.
But yeah, like all of these movies were about musicians, including Nick and Nora's Infinite Playlist. And yeah, man, I used to love that movie when I was younger. And watching it this time around, like, I see why I loved it so much when I was younger. Because it's such a teenage movie.
Yeah.
I feel like I'm finally hitting that age of like, you know, I'll creep it up on 30 now. That's just a few days away. And I just feel like now I look back on certain movies from youth and be like, ah, yes, this is a teenage movie. Like, these are the movies, and this is why they appeal to us as teenagers at the time, because they just, I don't know, really speak to, I don't know, things that are on a teenager's mind, I suppose.
Right, yeah.
And really set the stage for the way we see life in some ways, you know?
Yeah. Yeah.
But it is, I've always enjoyed
teenage
it.
love kind of.
Yeah. And it's just like, it could happen, you know, but the odds of it, you know, just that one wacky wild night, you know, the girl just coming up to you out of nowhere and being like, hey, be my boyfriend for 5 minutes or whatever. And,
right.
you know, all the happenstance in that movie, but it's still a fun movie. It's still a cute movie. I love Michael Cera and Kat Dennings. They're fantastic in it. One of my favorite lines in that movie is when they're trying to come up with a name for their band. And I'll quote this all the time, where something happens and she calls them a fistful of assholes. And one of the band, they've been pitching names the whole movie, and they just look at each other and they're like, fistful of assholes.
That's the one.
And one thing I forgot about that movie, big like B plot of the movie, was the journey that the gum in that girl's mouth takes. I don't know if you remember that or not.
Like, she like gets sick and all kinds of stuff.
Because like, and Belle pointed something out to me that I had missed all the other times I'd ever seen this. But so the gum starts because it's like Nora's best friend.
Right.
She's schlammer drunk.
Yeah, because they're trying to find her.
Yeah, that's the other like plot going on, is like she's left with the bandmates and they lose her, and then they're trying to find her on top of everything else. So yeah, she makes out with some guy at the bar near the beginning of the movie whose gum she takes while they're making out. And this gum has a story arc unlike anybody else in this movie. It gets around, bro, because it ends up in a lot of different places. Definitely the grossest is when it falls into the toilet after she pukes and she puts it back in her mouth. That's disgusting.
I'm sick just thinking about that.
But then Nora ends up with it at one point, and then it ends up in Nick's mouth, I think, by the end of it. But Belle pointed out that like at the very, very end, whoever has the gum like spits it out or like throws it or whatever, it lands like in the hair of the guy that it originated with at the beginning of the movie.
That's funny.
And I'm like, it goes full circle. That's so fucking funny. Another thing I realized, just a little moment, blink and you miss it moment, but a fun fact about this movie, Nick and Nora's Infinite Playlist is a 420 movie. I just happened to notice when she checked her phone, the date on her phone was April 20th, 2008. And I was like, no shit. I was like, Nick and Nora is a 420 movie. I had no.
Well, isn't Kid Cudi also in it?
No.
God. Must be a different movie then. Because two people go backstage where they get like to go and to like smoke with or no, Kid Cudi. I could have sworn that movie, but it must be a different one.
Not that movie.
Shit.
Not that movie. I don't know what you're talking about. I feel like I can like picture it in my head, but I don't know what it is.
I know the scene. I guess I just don't know all the characters. I know the situation. I guess.
Maybe it's just a wish. Maybe it's just.
No, it definitely happened.
When we saw Kid Cudi, you're like, oh, I hope he invites us backstage to smoke.
No, yeah, but I'll do research. I'll figure it the fuck out.
Hell yeah, we'll dig into that. Intern, look that up. Pull up Kid Cudi's IMDb.
That's what my plan was. It's like, I'm going to just look up to see what movies Kid Cudi's been in, and I'll narrow the list down there.
That should do the trick. Yeah, no, I still enjoyed it. Definitely didn't enjoy it quite like teenage me enjoyed it.
I feel you.
But I get that.
Oh,
You good? My goodness. No, but I definitely understand why it doesn't hit as hard these days.
Yeah.
And that's fine. I enjoyed the book as well, but I also kind of feel like if I went back and reread the book, it'd kind of be a similar case of like, yes, as a teenager, this book was excellent. You know, it really spoke to me. But now I'm just like, yeah, this is a good story.
Yeah, because I feel like that happens a lot with movies. I feel like just as people, we grow out of certain things.
Yeah.
Because there's times where it's like, oh, I really remember loving this movie and then watching it and being like,
Yeah.
no. Not, I wish I would just let that memory stay like pure, because now it's tainted with knowing how dumb this movie actually is.
I was just talking to my cousin about that the other day. He was talking about a movie that he used to, you know, he's told me he's 67 now, which is wild in and of itself. But he said, I think it was Babes in Toyland was the movie he said he really liked as a kid, that he would watch all the time. And he went back and watched it when he was older. He's like, this is a piece of shit. This is awful. But that happens. Sometimes you just want to like keep that memory intact of like, you know what? Because some movies I just know are going to be bad if I go back. There's like a couple I can think of that like I know I enjoyed, but if I went back, I'd probably hate now. Like Date Movie and Epic Movie.
Yeah, stuff like
for sure.
that.
Like, I mean, those were the ones that like, yes, I see why they appealed to me then, but I feel like if I went back and watched them now, they would not hold up in such a way.
Yeah, they even kind of brought that up in I watched the TV Glove.
Yes,
The dude said he went back and watched the Pinko Peg.
Which was a scene that really hit for me.
Yeah. And then it's like, he saw it in a different light, and it's just like, what was this?
That honestly was one of the moments in that movie that like started to solidify it as one of my favorites of the year.
That was definitely one of my favorite scenes.
Yeah, that message for sure really hit
that
with me.
Stuck out to me, especially like even just like him being older, going through those motions, and like, yeah, I've been doing this for 20 some years. It's like, man, just time has passed. It's just wow.
That's why
that does happen.
It just stuck with me. For sure. Now I feel like I'm going to bring up this movie again later, but we got music to talk about first.
Yes, we do.
Yeah. So after that, forget what you watched.
The next thing I watched was Star
right?
Wars. Yeah. So I watched it right after
the newest version, right? Like Lady Gaga, Bradley Cooper.
You know, there's
it's the third rendition.
Oh wow!
This is
Well, now I have two more.
Because there was the OG one was like in the 30s or 40s, I think. And
God,
I could be wrong about this. I want to say Judy Garland was in it. Maybe not. But then in the 70s, they did it with Chris Christopherson and damn it, who's the chick? I just had her name in my head a second ago, and it poof! It just
Intern.
The Intern. Who's in that thing? Damn it, that's gonna bug the shit out of me. I
might come back to you later.
Yeah, I might. But anyways, they did it then. I want to say Barbara Streisand, but I just don't think that's true.
You just think that's wrong.
It's sounds wrong. It sounds wrong. It feels wrong. What sucks is that was the first name that popped into my mind, but then I said Chris Christopherson first and lost the other name in the process. So fuck me, I guess. Rough. Anyways, so
I guess I watched the newest version with Lady Gaga and Bradley Cooper, and I enjoyed it. I really liked it.
Another Best Original Song winner.
Yeah, because I couldn't remember what the song was. When I first started watching the movie, I was like, what was that fucking song that was like popular for? Because
they'll beat you over the head with it before the movie's
The Shallows or whatever the fuck. I was like, I was like, oh yeah, that's right. But no, I enjoyed it. I enjoyed the whole story. Even like the relationship with the older brother, like him holding on to his father's memory, stuff like that, and just obviously the drinking and drug use and stuff like that. So because it got pretty wild. Like when she was accepting that award or whatever, and he came up there and like stumbled his way up there and was just like making an ass of himself and like just like collapsed on the floor. It's like, Damn.
Rough.
That's just,
But-
from all those people in the world.
Yeah, at the same time, it's like so real.
Yeah. Yeah.
I feel like that's what makes that scene so tough to watch. It's just like, you may not have had it happen at the Grammys per se, but you've definitely been in a situation where you're like, sheesh, I know this. Like,
Yeah. It's just wild. So, I don't know. I mean, all in all, good movie. I mean, it's sad that he killed himself. But
yeah.
spoilers. Anyone who hasn't seen
Well,
it.
speaking of which, so Belle watched this for the first time. I believe we watched it earlier this year, in fact. And it was the first time she had seen it. And she was floored by the way this movie ended. Like, she could not believe that Bradley Cooper died at the end of this movie.
Oh, I could.
Yeah, I could, but...
He had like one foot in the grip the whole time.
Oh, yeah. But, like, I think that's that sense of, like, we've said before, she doesn't watch movies like we do, so she's more accustomed to the general audience, like, happy ending sort of deal. And it threw her for a loop, but what she was more, like, obsessed with was the fact that, like, nobody spoiled this. Because she watched it like this year. That movie came out in 2018. And she's like, how have I never heard? She's like, I have heard so many things about this movie. Like, people have talked to me about this movie, and I always hear how good it is. I always hear this. I always hear that. And not a single person has ever been like, oh, and that ending is crazy. And she just feels like it's like the best kept secret ever. Like, because she's like, when you were watching it, she's like, text him and ask, like, if he knew how this movie was going to end or whatever.
I did not.
Yeah.
Because, like, the only thing I've really heard about A Star Was Born, I was like, I think someone said it's not the movie you think it's going to be, or something along those lines. Yeah. So I was able to kind of go in there and with that headspace of, like, kind of knowing what to expect a little bit more. So just within that general like mind frame, it's like, well, I wonder what's gonna happen. Like, it was kind of just like a sad movie.
It is.
I mean, like overall, like even like with her dealing with her dad being an alcoholic, and then getting married to an alcoholic, but then like, I don't know, because she would upset me too sometimes, because I felt like she would just like be very rude to him about it, and it's like, you accepted, you knew this about him.
Well, yeah,
the whole time
it
like,
becomes a toxic thing for sure.
Yeah,
and it's rough, and not even the last time this conversation is going to come up.
No, because I was literally just thinking
it's a very common occurrence in these films, but
you have a rant to go on.
I do. I forgot. Yeah, I gotta. Oh shit.
Because I was thinking about.
Yeah, I gotta get that fire started.
Yeah.
But yeah, beautiful movie. I mean, it's well done, well shot. Bradley Cooper directed it, and I always love Lady Gaga as an actress. I've always been pro.
She's so beautiful. I like watching it. I was like, I don't know why people ever be hating on Lady Gaga. She can be like, I guess out she's there like with such like her art and stuff a little bit, I guess.
But she's in such a natural state in A Star Is Born that it's just like you're really getting to see her, stripped down a little bit, and it's just like, wow. There's the girl inside the superstar, it's great. It's a great movie. I really do enjoy it.
It was because even like, I don't know, I felt like she'd get mad too sometimes, like, because I felt like Bradley Cooper was just trying to look out for her. He's been in this industry for a long time, so even like, I felt like with the other studio that signed her and stuff like that, he would just be like, hey, just don't lose yourself, and because they would always just try to like change, like with her hair color, and then like tell her she has to have backstage dancing and stuff like that, where it's like you don't fully get a say in what it is that you're doing.
I enjoy a movie like this where like there's a toxic relationship, but the movie holds both parties accountable. Yeah, and it's like, yes, one party might be a little rougher than the other at times, if not like the majority of the time for the movie, but you can tell that they're both at fault in their own ways. Like there's choices that they could both be making differently, and they just don't. And again, that is a common occurrence in a lot of these movies. So I feel like
I was almost expecting Bradley Cooper to be dead, like, early off in the movie.
Mm-hmm.
Like, because it was like when they were first hooking up, like, she's like, I'm going to go get ready real quick. Runs to the bathroom, and he's just, like, completely just, like, calmed. Like, looks dead.
Oh,
I was like,
yeah.
God damn, son. Like,
Yeah, he was rough.
some heavy drinking.
Heavy, for sure.
Well, he started early, apparently.
Yeah.
With was that Sam Elliott?
Dad was his drinking buddy.
Yeah, at like fucking 10 years old.
Sam Elliott, not really looking like Sam Elliott in that movie, if I'm not mistaken.
I felt like he did.
Or I'm thinking of something else. There, I saw him in something where he didn't have a mustache. I was like, who the hell is this guy?
It was not A Star Is Born. I'll tell you.
Yeah. No, I think it was what threw me about that is I always forget that he's his brother. Whenever I sit down and watch the movie, and then it gets into it, I'm like, yes, okay, yeah.
He punches him. I was like, oh, that's the brother. I just thought he was like a manager type.
Yeah, a manager or like. I mean, obviously, once they start talking about the dad being dead, I was like, okay, well, that makes him not the father,
right? Yeah,
you know. But Sam Elliott is the big brother to Bradley Cooper. I was like, older brother. Yeah, gotcha.
Stole his voice, so he said. I always looked up to you, got out of the car, and then he just backed up. I was just like, oh.
Yeah.
That's kind of
heartbreaking film. Heartbreaking.
How men can be sometimes with sharing emotions like that and stuff. It's like, he just didn't know how to...
Which I don't know.
Handle it, I guess.
Did you ever see Bradley Cooper's other movie he directed? Like, I think his last year, maybe? Maestro was what it was called. Was not a big fan of that.
That's what you said, which is why I didn't watch it. More so than any other reason, I suppose.
It felt, like I said, I just felt like I hadn't really learned anything about that guy by the end of the movie. I thought A Star Is Born was way more involved, and like I still think A Star Is Born is like the best thing Bradley Cooper's done so far.
And Dave Chappelle was in it too, right?
He fucking was.
That was like one of my favorite. Because I saw him like, is that Dave Chappelle? And I was like, well, no, what? Yeah, it fucking is. Like, it sure the fuck is. And I really
pleasant little surprise
down there in Memphis. I was like, man, good old Tennessee.
Who would have thought? Well, I feel like the perfect movie to roll into after that is Crazy Heart. A lot of similarities there. This was your first time seeing Crazy Heart, right?
It was.
This was my second time, but the first time I saw it was back in 2009 when it came out. And I don't know, I didn't really remember too much about it. 2-time Academy Award winner, I do know that. Jeff Bridges won for Best Actor that year, and Best Original Song again for The Weary Kind, which is a good song. The one he puts out there at the end.
When you first start falling, it feels like flying, at least for a little bit.
Yeah.
Good line.
And I told you, I totally forgot Colin Farrell was in that movie. Yeah. And then when I got to watch it, I was like, oh, hell yeah. I was like, I love Colin Farrell. So, I don't know. It's not that it's a bad movie.
I felt like I had questions.
It's a movie.
I might have missed something, or it went over my head.
I feel like it's a movie that just is what it is. It's just a little slice of this guy's life. Yeah. And so there's not anything too drastic to it, other than the fact that he's an alcoholic,
washed up. See, he was singing that fucking bowling alleys and bars and stuff like that. Yeah. It used to be a big deal.
And then not so much now because of his drinking.
Well, that and apparently his son had a lot to do with that. That whole
did it? Well, because he said about his son.
Because Colin Farrell was his son.
He wasn't.
He wasn't?
No, he wasn't, yeah.
I could have swore he called his son several times.
Well, he might have, but I think that was more in a southern sense of just a youngin'.
I don't know.
No, because I thought that too, because I watched the trailer before sitting down to watch it again. I was like, oh, fuck, Colin Farrell's in this movie. That's right. So I thought that Colin Farrell was going to be his son. Yeah, and it's not at all. He's just a young guy that was basically just like his apprentice, I suppose you could say, his protege, that kind of surpassed him in the grand scheme of things, similar to A Star Is Born.
And then I guess
but his son was like, he hadn't seen him since he was 4 years old, is what he said. And he called him at the end, and the dad's just like, one of the hardest lines in that whole fucking movie is when he said, like, you know, whatever he says to his son at the end of like, I'd really like to get together and talk with you. And the son's just like, well, imagine that. And then hangs up on him. And I was just like, oh, oof. And it's one of those things where it's like, it's cold, but you understand it.
Yeah.
You know, like, and I feel like.
So did he, though. He was like, yeah, I reached out. He didn't want to talk to me, but I can't blame him.
Right.
It's been 24 years.
And I feel like that's one of my favorite things, like, as a writer and an audience member, is like watching a movie or a show. There's definitely one we're going to talk about here soon where, like, you might not feel good about what just happened, but you understand it from a story perspective. Like, you understand why the characters would make the decisions that they make.
Yeah.
Like, even with Bradley Cooper, you know, killing himself at the end of A Star Is Born, like, I get it. Like, I see what led him to making that decision, as hard as that is to swallow at the end. Like, I still understand what drove him to this point. And with the son, and he's just like, you know, imagine that.
Yeah.
Click, hangs up on his ass.
You would like to talk. Cool.
Man, and then the whole love story at the heart of this thing, I just don't know.
You don't know how you feel about it?
It's like, it's sweet, don't get me wrong, but there is, again, that level of, like, I don't know, not in a bad way, I guess, but it's believable. You know what I mean? Like, it's believable to see why she would make these decisions.
Yeah.
And it's just like, you hate to see it, but you see it happen so often of people, not even just women, but, you know, people in general just make decisions and put themselves back in situations that they knew they shouldn't have. They felt it in their gut. They saw where this was going, and then it panned out exactly that.
Yeah. I don't know, because like the saddest scene for the scene that got me teary-eyed is when he lost the fucking kid.
Yeah.
And it's like, yeah, he was drinking. Literally, like, took a drink and then turned around and kid was just gone. Like, it could have happened anywhere. It didn't have to necessarily be a biopic because of the fact that it did, and then he couldn't remember what he looked like when he was looking to help, and just looked like a crazy old drunk guy, you know, who just lost a kid. So, and then, like, I don't know, because then the aspect of, like, the love story breaks up with them, obviously. And then, you know, he goes to rehab, does his AA thing, and then, like, is doing his, like amends or whatever, you know what I'm saying? And so then, like, he went to go apologize to her, and she's just like, happy for you, cool, but I don't want anything to do with you, like.
Yeah.
But then changed her mind at the end. I was like, oh, okay. I mean, I get. Well, I get that he was doing better and that she could give him a second chance. But
well, I feel like it was more than just him doing better. I feel like it was how long he had been doing better. I feel like that's a big factor. I feel like we both know, like, when it comes to addiction, like, you can be doing better. But, you know, like, when it's, like, fresh off of things and you're like, oh, I'm doing better. It's like, yeah, well, it's been a few weeks.
Yeah,
so, like,
we'll give it some time.
Yeah, let's wait, you know, for something bad to happen.
Let's give it a few months and check back.
And so it was, like, well over a year in the movie before she, like, rolled up on him.
Yeah.
And,
well, I guess,
but even then, you know, she was engaged to be married, and I feel like it had, like, a
well, I
similar...
guess maybe I might have missed that whole aspect of it.
Because he looks down and she's got the ring on her finger, and she's like, he's a good guy, and he's like, good, you deserve one. And then she says, Buddy's here if you want to see him, and he said, no, I just think that'll be too confusing for him. Yeah. And all that. And I feel like it's a similar thing.
Yeah, I guess I just wasn't really paying attention to that. Anything like that hard, I guess.
At that point, you're just upset they weren't together. You're like, harumph. Harumph. But yeah, I feel like their love got to be, you know, a little more. Like, it got to mend itself. You know, I feel like it's a perspective thing.
Yeah.
Some people look at an ending like that and they're just upset and sad because they didn't get together, but they don't see that they're probably happier this way.
Yeah, I would have been more upset if they got together. That's what was
for sure.
So
For
the fact that
sure.
they didn't and all that. Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. Now I'm happy with it.
Yeah.
Like, just to be able to forgive them and just
And acknowledge that, hey, that love is still there. I love you. You love me, but we got to live our own lives. Like, there's just something beautiful to that, you know?
Yeah, for sure.
And not a lot of people can do that. They're so hung up on the romantic aspect of love that they never are willing to push past it. You know, put the selfishness aside and just see what more it can be. But yeah, at the end of the day, though, like, it's just like a very, the performances are great and everything, but it is such just a basic movie to the point where it just feels kind of dry. To me, personally, I just, it was not one that I'd be like, oh, I'm really itching to watch Crazy Heart. You know?
One thing I did appreciate about him, though, was every time someone made a request, he always made a point to play it for them.
Yeah.
Because I thought he wasn't...
More or less.
I don't think...
Well, because remember the dude that asked to play the song for his wife or whatever?
He did.
And he started the song, but that's when he left the stage for like the whole song to go throw up out back.
Oh, well.
And then he came back at like the very end. But no, I do hear what you're saying.
Yeah. He still tried.
Right.
You can't help that you get sick. Sometimes you drink too much.
Yeah.
He got him like a whole pint.
One would say that was his whole problem.
Well, it definitely was a problem. The doctor was very concerned for himself.
Very concerned. The doctor was like, you need to cut all this shit out. Like, what you're doing, stop it.
He's like, we're just going to cut the shit. I know you're an alcoholic, but goddamn,
But
son.
goddamn.
Do something or you will die.
Pretty much. Did not sugarcoat that.
No, you shouldn't either.
Would you like to get your thoughts on One Love out of the way before I go on my rant?
Sure. I enjoyed One Love. I felt like it was a little difficult for me to get into at first. I felt like, I don't know, that was also part of just like, my subtitles wasn't working, so like, like the dialect of like that Jamaican accent can be hard to understand a little bit sometimes. So it's like, that was a little bit of an adjustment just because obviously I don't around Jamaican people like that to be
That's why I had
used
to shut it off when people got home, because I was like, I had the ability to hear them, so that's why I didn't have the subtitles on. But as soon as people got home, I was like, I'm done. I can't understand this movie. Otherwise,
but other than that, like I got used to it, and then just like I really enjoyed it.
Yeah,
it might be like my favorite movie that I watched this week.
Nice.
To be honest, it was. I was watching. I was like, I just had like a moment. I'm like, fuck, I really like this movie right now.
Like, the time of my life.
It just like really hit like on certain levels. Just like going because I kind of wish they would have talked more about the band starting, but they don't. They just jump in like when he gets shot or whatever. Yeah. And so I felt like there's a few times where like they kind of just like jumped to stuff where I felt like I would have liked to see them have talked a little bit more on it, but that happens sometimes. But it's just like interesting to watch like come from such humble beginnings, and then like once money is involved, like how people begin to change and they let money influence them and stuff like that. And
does this go farther than, because like the impression I was getting when I watched the first 20 minutes of it was that this is just kind of like a piece of his life, like just a time period of his life, not necessarily like his whole story. But does it go farther than that?
It tells up until the point he dies.
Oh, well, shit. Okay.
So
I feel you. Which
I also did. I knew he died, but I didn't know. I didn't know it was with cancer.
I also didn't know that. I read that, and I was like,
And so then that whole situation was like heartbreaking.
Yeah.
Because then like they really build on his relationship with his wife and stuff moving forward, and so there's just like a whole bunch of scenes where I'm just like, fuck, man. Y'all really tearing on my heartstrings right now.
I mean, fuck, that was like the last thing I saw was the shooting. at the beginning of the movie.
Yeah.
So like that's where I left off. So I was like,
Oh yeah, definitely gets better for sure.
well, I do plan on finishing that. I just haven't had the chance to. Or I suppose I did, and I made a decision, but whatever.
We'll get into that.
We'll get into that later. But first, we got to talk Back to Black.
Back to Black.
Back to Black. So what did you think of Back to Black?
I guess overall, like, I thought it was okay. I was a little upset that I felt like they also didn't really get into anything. Like, they, like, kind of showed her having, like, a drinking problem a little bit.
Yeah.
But even then, I feel like it was worse than I wish they would have got more into that, because, like, to die at 27 from, like, stopping and then drinking again, it's like, how much were you fucking drinking? Like, to die at, like, that, I mean, that blew my fucking mind. Like, I didn't know she was that young when she died. I was like, holy fucking shit, dude. Like, that made me think. The relationship with, like, so that I wish they would have got into a little bit more. I mean, they did. But
I feel like you can say that about this whole movie. The review I kept seeing people leave for this movie was like, Amy Winehouse's Wikipedia page, the movie.
Yeah, you know, because then it got into like the thing like with her boyfriend, and stuff like that, and how they met, and how he just kind of wasn't really that good of a guy, and that just continued to kind of be the theme. But and then he would blame her for his shortcomings. But I mean, they were in a toxic relationship. Yeah. But I always felt like he just used, like, oh well, this is all your fault, so I gotta fucking go. You know what I'm saying? He did that.
I do.
He did that twice. That's how he broke up with her first place. And then the only reason why he even got back with her is because dude's like, well, she's rich now and you owe me money, so go get your money. And so then it was just a whole facade. It wasn't ever anything. I think she genuinely loved him, but he just did not.
She's fucking obsessed, which is a problem.
Which is wild.
You know, or at least that's how this movie portrays her as being. Look, I'm feeling the flame growing all over again.
Oh no, and then for him to be like, well, I'm in prison and you're hanging out with guys, so it's over. It's like, it's not even what was happening, and I just feel like you're right, you probably shouldn't be together, but I don't feel like you have to be such a dick towards her about the breakup. I guess it's how he's just like, I feel like unnecessarily dickish.
I hear what you're saying, and that dude, it's like, he wasn't a good dude to her. But the way this movie like portrays that, I feel like is just fucked in my eyes. I feel like, because even those two examples you gave of like when he breaks up with her, I just feel like the way the movie plays it is like he's making this healthy decision to get away from the toxic Amy Winehouse,
right?
And it's just like, it doesn't feel like the movie is holding him accountable. It doesn't feel like the movie is holding anybody accountable other than Amy, you know, and just like I said, I'm no Amy Winehouse connoisseur by any means, but like, I knew a little bit about Amy Winehouse. They Academy Award winning documentary back in 2015 that A24 put out, all about her life. And
I'm gonna have to check that out.
See, now I watched that. And it's like, that was good. My only problem with that documentary was like, I didn't care for the style it was done in.
Gotcha.
But that's, you know, I still feel like overall it was a good documentary. That was just more of a personal preference, I guess. But I just feel like there were a lot of things in this movie that they really fucking downplayed, and they almost just kind of villainized Amy Winehouse in her own life. Yeah. And just kind of made her seem like the central source of all of her own fucking problems. And I feel like they never got into, if I'm not mistaken, I'm pretty sure her dad was not a great guy.
They definitely did not go that route.
No, they made him look like a fucking saint. And I feel the same way about the way they made Blake look. I just feel like they made him look like he was a victim of Amy Winehouse, you know? Like,
yeah, I just knew better though.
Well, of course, you know, and I felt the same way watching it. Like, I know that's not the case, and there's a lot of detail that was left out in this movie.
Yeah.
And the thing that probably gets me the most about this is like, here you've got this movie where the whole movie, one, you skim the surface on every little fucking moment of her life. Like, I mean, surface level shit. You're painting
a whole lot of songs either. I felt like,
well, and that's what I was going to say. She as a character is telling us how important music is to her, yet music's hardly playing a part in this whole movie. Like, her music is really sitting, you know, off on the sidelines of this film. Everything gets cut short. Like, there's really no, I feel like anytime a full song did play, they used it to fly through moments of her life in a quick montage of things that were all super out of context. That, like, there was nothing emotionally like supporting anything that was being shown.
I kind of felt like the same way, like when she was like making the album Back to Black, or whatever. It's like, you know, so because I guess it's like her best work. Like this,
she's like, oh, by the way, I did this, and then they just keep doing it.
And then it's like, oh, well, this was fucking amazing, but they never really showed her making that. Like, they showed her going to the studio like one time, and then like, okay, now I'm making music again. This as like an outlet for her breakup, but they didn't even get into the music.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. The whole
everything just kind of was like that. The whole like
the entirety of her tragic life and her talented career was distilled into a generic ass romance movie, a romantic melodrama more than anything, where it just shows her drinking herself to death, more or less. Like, that's just kind of
implied more than it ever is.
Yeah, and it's just like, I don't know, you just see her fucked up all these ways. But then that's like the whole thing is like this movie constantly contradicts itself. Where, like I said, the one example of Amy constantly talking about her love of the music, and this is her passion. She does it for the music. She doesn't care about all this other stuff. But we never get to sit with that. We never get to see her actually love the music in the way that she talks about it all the time. The whole movie, Amy talks about how, you know, she is who she is. You know, she wants to be. And the movie literally ends with that voiceover where she says, if I'm remembered for anything, I just want to be remembered for who I was. And here's this movie that like doesn't want you to remember who Amy Winehouse was.
Tell you anything about
who Winehouse, you know, Amy Winehouse is talking about like all this, like, you know, like in the movie, she just talks about all these things about like the darkness in her life and this and that and the other. And this movie just refuses to get anywhere near like the dark side of this story, which is like the whole fucking thing. Yeah. And it's a sugar-coated
which
movie.
Is why I wanted to watch it.
It's a sugar-coated.
Because I knew Amy Winehouse's life wasn't like a fairy tale.
No, not in the slightest.
You know what I'm saying? So I felt like it would have went good with this whole drinking thing train that I was on.
Honest to God, one of my least favorite movies of the year. I can at least put two movies on my list for worst of 2024. That's Cuckoo and fucking Back to Black. I just thought it was awful. I mean, the whole thing, just as a storyteller, I thought it was awful. Even as a mild Amy Winehouse fan, I was like, fuck this. Like, yeah, I just feel like you done my girl dirty. You know, big time. I mean, now, I will say the performances from the chick that played Amy and the dude that played Blake were excellent. I felt like, especially
for sure. I thought,
Jack O'Connell as Blake was so good. He was so charming, and like from the moment he shows up and he's playing the jukebox for her and all that. So I mean, I get it, dog. Like I get how you'd fall for something like that, but just a shit movie. I was just not happy with it.
Yeah, I feel you. It wasn't up there on my...
Like I said, to end the movie with that bit of dialogue felt like such a slap in the face. Like, I just sat here and watched a whole movie that was like the antithesis of what this woman just said. And you're going to end on that? Right. You're going to end on, I want to be remembered for who I am.
And this is what we didn't do.
And then so we said, well, as usual, we're not going to let Amy make her own decisions here. We're going to fucking...
She loved music, had a shit relationship, died. That was Amy Winehouse.
Didn't do drugs, started doing drugs.
Did she ever start doing drugs?
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, they smoked crack for her birthday or whatever that was.
Oh.
he's like, I got a little something for us. All that shit.
What's up?
Because then the dad finds the crack pipe. And he pockets it. Doesn't say nothing to her about it. Which was also weird. I felt like nothing ever came out of that.
I don't know. I feel like as a parent, someone would definitely say something.
I was waiting for it, and I feel like it never came up. Like, I feel like, because she confesses later to him that, like, she's been in, and I feel like he didn't take that moment to be like, yeah, I know.
Yeah, I feel like, yeah, that's weird.
It's just shit. It's just
shit.
Just shit. It's not even good. I gave it a 2.5, and that 0.5 was coasting on the performance of Jack O'Connell. So,
maybe one of these days I'll start rating movies.
I try to when I see them. There's a lot that I've marked as watched that like I haven't seen in long enough to properly rate it. But if
even just the movies that I have been watching, I still just don't.
It's
I have my own scale. It's like decent, pretty decent, good.
Oh,
all
very
right.
basic scale.
Okay.
4-star system. Yeah. So I got nothing more to say on that.
I don't think there's anything more to say about it.
I guess real quick, I'll throw out Thelma. I know you haven't had the chance to see it yet, but
I have not.
Enjoyable, nice, sweet little movie. Like I said, I won't get into it too much, but
I will watch it.
If you want a sweet, wholesome flick to watch, Thelma, in the trailers, it's like it'll make you want to call your grandma. And I did. The whole time the movie was, I'm like, I want to call my grandma and be like, you should watch this movie. Like,
I want to call my grandma just you saying that. I was like, man, I got some grandparents.
It does. It's a great movie. And like I said to you earlier, it kind of fits this theme this year with movies of like identity, I guess. And just kind of, whether that was like how I Saw the TV Glow handled it, or what we're getting ready to talk about, The Substance, or Thelma, where it's just like, they're all just kind of looking at life and aging and identity and in different ways. And it's like Thelma, it's like, yeah, she's an old lady, but that doesn't mean she's not still a person, Right. She can still do things. Like, she's not just some shut-in, And it's like, yeah, things might be a little more difficult for her. But, yeah, there's, and I feel like The Substance does kind of get into that a little bit as well. It was like how you're treated differently the older you get.
Yeah.
But, yeah, Thelma took a sweet approach to that. As opposed to our next movie that took a disgusting approach to it, The Substance.
Fucking,
dun, dun, dun.
I don't know. I feel like that's kind of how it is in like that kind of like industry as well, though.
For sure.
Like, it is a lot more cool to women as they get older.
Well, I've seen people make the observation that like The Substance uses the entertainment industry to tell this story, but it really applies to so much more, especially in a social media driven world.
Oh, for sure.
Where, like for those that don't know, The Substance is basically, a movie about an aging actress who's being phased out by her, disgusting producer, who's aptly named Harvey. That was pretty damn on the nose, but she's feeling
put that together, to be honest with you.
Yeah, she a lot of like, I don't know, the whole movie's a lot about like self-hatred and body positivity and fucking beauty standards.
Yeah,
all that
stuff.
Sure. And just the whole metaphor of like how it all ends. It's like, we as society kind of create this monster because of the beauty standards, and just a lot of the ways the movie handles how it tells the story, I thought was really cool. That's what made me watch it twice and not finish One Love instead.
Yeah.
I will say, just out the gate, like my biggest complaint is it needed to be shorter. I feel like
I felt that at a certain point.
It does drag.
I almost turned it off and was gonna finish it like later because I was like an hour and a half in. I'm just like.
Yeah, there's
there's still another hour left.
Right.
I was like, Jesus Christ! Like, what the fuck is going to go on in this movie? Because it's like, I mean, a lot
does happen, but there's a lot of dead space in between.
Because like a lot happened, but a lot of it, like, I saw it coming.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like,
Well, I've heard that point be made too, where it's like,
Of course,
the story becomes predictable, but the way things play out aren't. You know, it's like, you know what's going to happen. You're just not. There's no way to be prepared for how it's going to happen. You just don't know
exactly how it's going to happen.
Right.
Like, because obviously I didn't know she was going to literally turn into a monster.
Right.
I mean,
right.
I knew something bad was going to happen as soon as she had like that thought, like, oh, there's still the activator left. I'm like, yeah, but you're not the Matrix. You're only one's use and kept only one use. Like when they did that, like a lot with like remember who you are.
Remember who you are.
Because like what happens, I guess, to explain it for anyone who doesn't know is like
the rules
that she essentially just makes a younger version.
Yeah, it's like
of herself. Yeah, like she's like replicated pretty much. And so, yeah, but then you have to like switch back and forth
every 7 days without exception.
And you know, so then it's getting to the point where the younger girl Sue is just really just doesn't want to go back.
Honestly,
she's really enjoying her fucking life. What so
what dragged me back to it that second time around was like, after seeing it the first time and just sitting on it and just like letting it soak in, I was like, fuck, that was so good. And I was like, I gotta go back and watch it again. And now, like, going in that second time, knowing what to expect, I could take in like some more detail and stuff.
Yeah.
But it did solidify, like I said, what I did and did not like. And for sure, it's just too long. Like, it does just drag in certain moments where to the point where I fast forwarded through the ending a little bit just because I'm like, okay, I just watched this like hardly a day ago. So let's just fucking.
Yeah. I think what I told you, like one of the most disgusting scenes for me was, when she's like having that meeting
with Dennis Quaid,
and he's eating like the crawfish or whatever because it's like we're like sloppy, just watching him chew. Well, my computer was buffering like every 5 to 10 seconds, so then it would just stop like on his mouth, and I was like, God, like this was already disgusting, but now it's like a prolonged disgusting. I was like,
which is like
Christ.
Even that scene, like there were things in this movie that, like for a movie that's so in your face about a lot of things. It's got so much subtlety going on. And like something that I missed on my first watch until I like saw somebody talking about it is the double standard on display with Dennis Quaid's character, like where he's literally like actively like judging these women by their beauty and stuff and what they look like, how they handle themselves. Meanwhile, he's disgusting all the time. Like when Sue comes into his office later and is doing all the close-ups of him smoking and stuff, he's got yellow teeth. Like he's like, got the fly buzzing around him and shit. Like just things like that where it's like, but it's like the same rules don't apply for him, And I just thought that was a neat thing. But honestly, probably like the biggest thing I loved about this movie is remember, you are one. And because a lot of people I've seen mention that they're confused by like, okay, well, if they have a shared consciousness, why do they always seem so confused? Like when they come into the other body and they see like, what the other person has done. And I never found that confusing because it's like lying to yourself, and that's what I always thought was interesting is like some people will watch this movie and they'll just tell themselves the same thing that Elizabeth and Sue are telling themselves, which is I am looking at two different people. These are two totally different people.
Right. And even when she made that phone call, and he's like, remember, there's not
my favorite character in the whole movie is the guy on the fucking phone.
It's not you. It's not.
There is no she and
you.
It's you. It's just you are one. And then my favorite time she calls him and is like, she's not respecting the balance and blah, 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 blah.
Yeah.
Like, the balance needs to respect it. So respect it. Hangs up the phone. I was like, I love it. But like the fact of the matter is it's simple rules. And what it boils down to is her own self-hatred for herself.
Yeah.
And so when, it's like, they do share consciousness, and that's what's so fucking crazy about this movie is they are the same person, and it's just a matter of she hates herself so goddamn much that when she's in the younger version, it's her, and she doesn't want to. And she's doing this to herself,
her older self,
exactly, and like she gets so wrapped up in living that life that she doesn't want to go back to the other one.
Yeah,
And then,
which I mean, obviously, I got that.
but
who wouldn't?
I just some people didn't. There are a lot of people who just like. I mean, I get like they do play it off in a way that it does feel like two different people, but they literally remind you the whole movie.
Yeah.
Like, remember, you are one. Like you are one person, and so just that
crazy,
aspect
like when she like pretty much like completely drained her.
Yeah.
At that one point, like it was like staying as the younger version for like months, and was like, well, how do you? It's like it's out. It's not. There's no more. And he's like, well, you gotta switch back. You gotta let it fucking reset. Like as soon as you switch, like you'll be fine. But then it's like, I think one of my favorite fucking scenes of the whole movie is like when she is like getting like all old and decrepit and just screaming at her younger self, like mocking her.
Oh, when she's like cooking and like, yeah.
Tell him why you're so beautiful.
Oh, this right here.
Jurassic.
I'll show you Jurassic. Yeah.
Like it's just I thought she just crushed it. She crushed that scene and
dude, especially.
But
I already told you I'm already upset Demi Moore's not gonna win this fucking Oscar because she deserves it, bro.
But the fucking how intense they made those fucking head smacks was like when she first like fucking hit the floor, I was like, is she even gonna be alive?
Yeah.
Like, and then like she was just her whole back was split open. I'm like,
when she wakes up that first time and just just screaming and like grabbing at her back, I'm like, oh, I bet that would just.
Well, I just meant even like when Sue was first like born, and then so she's looking at I'm like she's dead. I'm like her whole back is open. I'm like how are you gonna switch with a corpse like? And then she like starts telling her up and feet. And I'm like, okay, but
something else I found interesting about this movie is like for a movie that is technically like as gross as it is, I did not find this movie that disgusting. Like for coming fresh off the Terrifier movies where I had to like look away at times and like just, this movie that has some really gnarly stuff in it, I never looked away. Like, and I feel like I was so wrapped up in the story of it that the disgusting parts never felt like that shocking, I guess. It made sense to me within the bounds of the story. And for some reason, it just kind of bypassed a part of my brain that was like, this is gross. And I just kind of like, I don't know, like you said, I feel like the grossest thing I saw was Dennis Quaid eating that fucking shrimp.
I will say like the cringiest part for me, and you know how I felt about like self-mutilation.
The knee.
So the knee was fine. Like when she like picked off her like fingernail.
Later. And like the teeth and shit.
Yeah,
and
but it was more specifically the fingernail that that's always like been a very sore spot.
Yeah,
for me. Because even like that scene in fucking Black Swan, like when she pulls the fucking
that one's rough.
Skin. Oh god, anything with the hands, dude, I can't.
Yeah.
Ooh, not for me.
Yeah.
You can cut off a finger, but like to like even like pull a nail off like with a pliers? Oh God, dude!
I'm telling you, it's just. I get that this movie's on the gnarlier side, but it'd just be a shame for the Oscars to sleep on it, just because I mean it's got so much going for it.
Yeah,
the editing, the music, the acting. I mean,
I will say the fucking ending was wild.
Oh, wild as shit!
Like at one point, I was like. I was like, okay, I'm just ready. I get it, but I'm ready to just get this over with now. Like,
which is what I fast forwarded. It does take its sweet time.
I was like, I'm ready for bed. I just want.
Which is why I'm saying, like, I feel like even those parts that drag, like, if I saw this in a theater. Oh,
it would have been a completely different experience.
I mean, it would be just that. I mean, it'd be an experience. Like, it's just the sound design in this movie is fucking crazy.
Yeah.
And like I said, the score is really good. Like, the whole movie just has like a heartbeat to it.
Because like for me, it was a long movie that was even longer with my laptop buffering as much as it was, and I'm just like, good God! I wanted to just scream at it at one point.
But yeah, man, it worked for me. I really loved it.
Yeah.
But yeah, that ending, it does get super cartoonish. It just gets fucking insane and revels in it for a little bit, which is fine. I'm glad they had their fun. Yeah. But yeah, it does take a while to get going. It is funny though. Well, because I was thinking, in a year where people just overuse the word bonkers, I didn't hear nobody use bonkers with the Substance, and this is the only movie I've seen this year that warrants it. Because I was like, this was fucking bonkers. That's what this fucking movie was.
Felt bad for Fred, by the way.
For Fred, I did too. Honestly, saddest scene, and that was the other thing.
Yeah, that's just sad.
This whole
but then she just like she was ready, but then she would leave and then start comparing herself to the younger self, and then just hated the way she looked. And so bring herself to hang out with some Joe Blow that she went to high school.
Well, especially because
she just wanted to be complimented. She just liked that she was still that to him.
Yeah, well, there's that genuine moment of happiness there too when she realized like, hey, he does think he genuinely thinks I'm beautiful. And you can tell in that brief moment, you could see where she could have walked out that door and started to live a better life, but she didn't, and she stopped herself because of her self-loathing, and it's so sad. And I feel like that's the other thing is like, I didn't find this movie as disgusting as I did sad. Like, this movie is hella sad.
There wasn't a whole lot of disgusting bits, I feel like.
No.
Just the two. The eating and then falling apart.
Yeah. But yeah, just...
good movie.
Good movie.
It was a good
movie. I love the way they did everything. I love the way they handled, the message of it all. And some things that I noticed on my second go-around... The movie almost mirrors itself from beginning to end. Like, a lot of what happens at the beginning of the movie starts coming into play at the end.
Because there's even the shot where she's walking down the hallway all by herself.
Right.
And like that as well. So
that opening scene too is excellent, where the shot just stays on the star and it shows the passage of her whole life basically. That was really cool, and I love the way they bring that back around at the end.
Yeah, that was weird.
And
not that they brought it back around, but
what happens to her?
How it gets turned back.
Well, I did see somebody point something out about that scene where it's the only time you see her be genuinely happy, and it's almost because she's separated herself from her body. She's this formless thing now, so she can just be, and then she fucking releases. But I thought it was cool how they brought that back around. But if you pay attention at the beginning, when you first see Elizabeth and she's doing her little workout video, she makes a comment in the workout video about something about crawling along the ground like a jellyfish or something like that.
She does make a comment.
She says something like that, and then at the end of the movie, that's literally what she does. And I was like...
Sound like jellyfish legs or some bullshit.
Yeah, she literally talks about a jellyfish fucking crawling along the ground or some shit. And that's basically what happens to her by the end. Which is also wild when she just fucking explodes.
Yeah.
In the bits. They're just fuck it, this movie's Actually, I heard somebody say, they were the writers were well, they've made it this far. They're they've made it this far, so let's just...
Why the fuck not?
Let's just fucking crank this up.
Let's just end on this crazy ass
chaos. Poor Fred.
Poor Fred, though. Sweet guy.
Yeah, I love that.
What a clutch. Dropped the number in a puddle or something and still... handed it to her. I would have just taken the L right there.
Right, just write another one. The rest of the paper.
Yeah, don't do that to her. You're not gonna call her the most beautiful woman you ever met and then hand her that. What the fuck is wrong with you? You should be shocked that she's calling you.
Yeah, I'm just in shock.
Didn't know what to say. He about died on the phone. And then hit her up. Yeah. Oh, I know. Sorry, he likes to make an entrance, and I was like, damn.
Yeah, so sad.
That was a rough scene.
Also, another thing I thought was interesting is the times that they would show how men would treat, like, you know, the young attractive one a lot different than they treat, you know, the older, because it's like in their head they have less value because they're less sexual to them, I suppose. You know, and so it's like, what's the point of being nice to this old bitch, basically? And like the guy on the motorcycle that she fucks the night before, and then like the next day he's like screaming at her, "Get out of the way!"
That was wild.
Bitch. And then like the guy that lives across the hall that's coming over to scream at her, and then he's just like, oh.
That was wild. That, and then like when he was introducing her to all like the fucking executives, and they're all just like the old
white dudes just like smiling. Pretty girls should smile right after she started getting her teeth out.
Oh God. Yeah. Nasty. But that's what people are driven to.
Yeah. I mean, Margaret Qualley, beautiful, did a great job.
Just so beautiful.
And both of them, I mean, honestly, if anything, I feel like Demi Moore deserves this fucking award, not just for the amazing performance she put on, but just the vulnerability of the role. I mean, you really got to put yourself out there, because I've seen some things where she talked about how she really had to face herself for this role, like, because she did deal with like a lot of body image issues and stuff, and I'm like, man, that'd be hard.
That would be there's
definitely be vulnerable, just two actors in a bathroom writhing around naked.
I was gonna say, oh, shit ton of fucking nigga, dude. It's outrageous.
Well, and like I said, and I've heard many other people say, it's an ass man's dream.
There's definitely plenty of ass in there.
If that doesn't sway Academy voters, I don't know what will.
They're all impressed, man.
They, I don't know. The Substance is like sneakily crawled up my top 10 list for this year.
It might be your number one.
I don't know, because it's strange to me, because it's like, I know it's a flawed movie, like it's not perfect, you know, but I just really fucking enjoyed it.
I'd say that I didn't like it, I suppose.
I'd almost go as far to say that it's at least sitting in the top 3. I know it's not number 1. Dune Part 2, like, claimed that in March and has not let go. Has a death grip on it.
Yeah, because it was a phenomenal.
It was a phenomenal movie, and there's yet to be anything as phenomenal this year.
It made you question yourself. It was so goddamn.
It did.
What's the point of it? If this is what people are doing, what the fuck are we doing?
Right? Can we just skip to the Oscars next year? We don't need to see nothing else. So I guess our big closer is the Penguin.
The Penguin
Finally, finally.
Yeah. I think you're looking forward to the season finale just to be like, all right, motherfucker, you can start watching it now. Because I remember you even texted me and said, okay, it's over, you can start watching it.
Right. I couldn't even finish the finale. Before I texted you, I was like, it's out. Go watch all of them.
And all of that I did. I feel like I would have got more movies in but I took a couple days off to watch The Penguin, and I don't regret it. Penguin was really good. Really enjoyed it. There was a lot of scenes that were just wild. I mean, even just the opening, I feel like with him talking to like the new Falcone that was supposed to be Alberto. And then he starts making fun of him for wanting to be remembered as being a helpful guy. Just shot the shit out of him. I was like, God damn. And then laughed at him. And,
you don't want to laugh at the Penguin.
And then, and so then he goes out to see his car trying to get jacked, shoots at the kids. Mm-hmm. And then we meet Vic, who had to beg for his life the whole goddamn movie. The whole episode. I would say the episode. He was fine.
It did happen a lot, though. What do you think? You're a hostage or something?
That scene was fucking crazy. But so like he ends up letting them live, working together, and fucking. Who's his sister? Can't think of his name.
Whose sister? Alberto's sister? Sophia.
Sophia, yes. Yeah. The other main star of the fucking show.
Formerly Sophia Falcone.
And then she turns to Gigante. I knew it was a G. Fucking, that whole story.
Excellent.
Line was just phenomenal.
Excellent. I mean, just the whole show, the writing is just so fucking top notch. I mean, just the characters are so complex. And I told Shep, he and I were talking about like how it all ends. And I'm like, I swear to God, this whole show, the Penguin does to the audience what he does to everybody else, which is, you can't trust the motherfucker.
Yeah.
Yeah, here you are.
He's
sympathizing for him. He tricks you.
He fucked over every single person he worked with.
Every single person. There was not a stone.
There's not, and sometimes unnecessarily so. And for example, when the bomb was in the SUV, he sees it and just takes off. It doesn't say anything like, let these people approach his car, and they died. And so many more lives probably could have been saved. He was like, get the fuck out.
Penguin?
You know what I'm saying? But killed his brothers. That was fucking
what a character.
Wild,
you know what I mean? Like, just from a writing standpoint.
Locked them in there and they drowned. Oh,
I wouldn't even, I feel like if I wrote a show like this, I don't need an award. I know what I did. Oh, yeah. I know what kind of fucking show I wrote. Like, it's just...
Even Vic's whole story.
Oh, God damn, Vic. Should have bounced with his girl.
And the scene in the bathroom where it's like, give me your phone. What, you think you're a fucking awesome? Like that almost, dude. I was like,
you can leave. Yeah.
I was like, you think I'm fucking keeping you here? Like, against you? I was like, damn.
On some toxic relationship shit,
But I feel like if he genuinely would have been like, hey, I have this opportunity, I think he would have let him go. I don't think he was just doing it to, rub the salt in the wound.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, oh, you think I'm a bad guy? Like, well, what the fuck? I think it's hard to say because, he didn't kill him.
He is a slimy motherfucker.
He did eventually, which, granted, I saw coming. As soon as I saw Vic, I'm like, I just knew he just was not going to.
A lot of people theorize, like, Vic is not going to make it out of the show. But, like I said, that goddamn penguin had me convinced at the end of the show. And when the scene happened with Vic, my jaw just progressively just descended. I was just like watching it, and Belle's like looking at me as I'm just like, I could not fucking believe what was happening. I'm like, no.
See, no. I thought he was going to do it different. Because when he went and talked to the congressman, he was like, well, you need to be clean. He's like, I am. And so I really thought he was going to pin all the shit on Vic. It makes sense why it's Vic's fault. Shouldn't have called him family. Should have just, he was just too close. He already saw what happened with his mom.
He wouldn't think about it, because for that brief moment, I'm thinking, oh yeah, this will speak to him. I didn't realize it was going to speak the wrong words to him.
Yeah.
God damn, dude. I was just like, at the end of the day,
get close again. I can't allow myself to be vulnerable like that.
Everything
I understand. I got it. But then at the same time, it's hypocritical because then you're keeping your mom up in the penthouse alive.
I'm saying
the one thing she asked was, "Don't keep me as a."
It's like he shuffled everybody's fates around.
The one thing she wanted him to promise her was to kill her if she ever got like that, and
he's like, "Oh yeah, I will."
And didn't.
I know.
Like just slap
crazy. That whole finale, it was just literally like
fucking couldn't just put Sophia or misery.
That's what I'm saying.
Just kill her. You're gonna let her go back to fucking Arkham.
The worst possible thing you could have done. You could have let her go. She was leaving all this behind. You could have let her go. Let it all just be what it is.
But he couldn't.
You could have killed her and set her free, and she would have been totally okay with that. But when those fucking cop lights, and I was like,
she accepted.
My eyes got fucking. I was like, this motherfucker is sending her back to Arkham. I was like, God damn.
They helped get her there in the first place too.
Fucking
just
insane.
Let her dad fucking
crazy. Did it to her 2 times, bro. And
that was even harder when it did show they did actually have a good relationship. When she did treat him nicely when he was her driver.
Oh yeah.
Because even Alberto called him oh, have fun with your payment. She don't call him. She actually treated him like a fucking human being and confided him and stuff. And
but
when she went to talk to a reporter and called her out, which is why she got fucking. That's why they ended up pinning on her anyways.
Yeah. He's just a piece of shit, bro.
Up, dude.
Biggest piece of shit in cinema history, I think.
Shit.
I thought
it was crazy too when he was fighting Salvatore, whatever, and he has the fucking heart attack.
You fucking kidding me? What the fuck?
Just but he's getting his ass beat. He's lucky. He acted like he was like about to win the fight. He was getting fucking stomped out. And then dude had a heart attack. He was like, "Oh, well, I beat you." It's like, no, you got lucky.
Right.
This is
you may have won, but you didn't beat him.
Time won, bitch. That's what
all you did was stress this man out to the point he couldn't take it no more.
Burning the fucking his wife.
And then to turn around and like
that was fucking crazy.
Dude, everything this man did was crazy. Like
just wild.
Just shit. In hindsight, looking back at every little moment of the Penguin, it's like I've never seen a crazier motherfucker. Because I told Belle as soon as it was over, I was like, God damn! I was like, if the Penguin is this bad, I can only imagine what this universe's Joker is like.
Yeah.
I was like, this is just the Penguin. Like, God damn! Like. But man, have I never taken the Penguin more seriously as a threat? I'll tell you that much. Like this man knows how to play the game, and play it. He did. He played it all the way to the top. Tippy top.
Yeah, he was gonna let his mom get her finger cut off just to not admit they killed his.
Which is also like he's so goddamn delusional, dude. It's insane. Like
it's just wild. She was like, "You really just won't." She was like, "We all know. She knows. I know. You know. You can make it stop."
Yeah,
just
I know. Sophia was just like floored. She's like, "God damn, you're really gonna let me do this?" Yeah.
Which she just did. Incredible too, Christian. Fucking name is
Kristen Milioti, I think.
Oh, I was pretty close.
You're pretty close.
One of my favorite actresses.
Similar to this episode, if the Penguins doesn't, if the hockey team doesn't sweep the Emmys next year, no, I mean I think the show deserves all the awards as well.
Yeah, I think it might be one of Colin Farrell's best performances.
Absolutely. I mean, you wouldn't even know.
I didn't know in the Batman when I watched it the first time until someone was like, "That's Colin Farrell." I'm like, shut the fuck up,
dude. Just again, that last episode especially. The acting in that last episode is what had me just like dialed in. Like from his mom to him to Sophia to Vic, like everybody just they've been good all season, but they're like, we're gonna bring our A++ game to this last episode. Because I was like, damn, like even like at the beginning of the finale when it's his mom's doing like that red light therapy and she's having the flashbacks of like when Oz, like she was basically going to kill him and stuff. And it's like, even in that whole situation, like the acting in that scene of the mom and stuff, I'm just like, God, what a tough, like more like this whole, I mean, I feel like you and I just love shit like this to begin with.
Yeah.
We love like morally gray stuff. And it's just like complex characters and situations, and this had it by the fucking buckets. I mean, there just every moment, it's just like, even like I said, like at the end, like you could be upset, like why, like we're all upset Vic died, but like I get it. Yeah, I understand why.
Like when he did it.
He's a piece of shit, but like
I understand his thought process.
Oh, it's rough.
Dude, I don't think it's right. I think he could have just said, just get the fuck out of here.
Which is one of those things, Belle watches that and she's like, how could you like a show like this? And it's just like, very easily.
Yeah.
I'm like, yes, he's a bad guy, but also he's a bad guy. Like they didn't try to fucking sugarcoat it. Like they wrote this character in an amazing way that, I mean, I was constantly shocked, and I shouldn't have been. Just like all the people who ever put their trust in Oz. I was as big of a fool as anybody else, I guess, just constantly falling for his charm or like empathizing with him. In certain moments.
And he's a slippery bastard. Like when he fucking put that the knife in dude's pocket.
Yeah.
And then got fucking Sophia's like right hand man.
God, everybody was playing checkers, and this motherfucker was playing chess.
It's like, I always win.
Dude, he's my boy. He's always 2 steps ahead of everybody. Fucking,
fucking Vic whacking Squid.
For
pressing too hard.
Yeah.
Why'd you make me do that?
Right, sounding just like Oz.
Yeah.
Why'd you make me do that? Yeah, it's just excellent, man. And now I'm like super excited for the next Batman movie in a way that I was not previously.
That's what they wanted.
Oh, well, it worked. I'm ready to see it. And it was funny because like almost unanimously, so many people had the same thing to say after that finale, because like in the weeks, you know, I was watching it week to week, and I'd keep up with what people were saying on that shit. And all
the speculations of what's going to happen next week.
It wasn't even so much that. It was like, we were all talking about like, man, it's going to be really hard to watch Batman kick his ass, you know, come Batman Part 2, because we're starting to like understand him and like sympathize with him as a character and stuff. And yeah, he'd do some fucked up stuff, but like we're becoming close with the Penguin. And then after the finale, like everybody was like, I changed my mind, beat his ass, Batman. Yeah. Everybody was like, I can't wait to see Batman kick the shit out of him. Like, I mean, everybody did a total 180 on that finale. They're like, fuck him.
Yeah. I mean, because I felt like the turn for me was around the time he killed his brothers. Yeah. I think that was like episode 7 or 6.
I think so. Yeah.
So, I mean, it was right towards the end anyways, but it's like, why ain't you a little fucker, dude? Like that. Like,
you got some serious mommy issues.
I thought your brothers like just had like an accent. I realized that you were just a fucking psycho child. Right. You know what I'm saying?
Fucking like, Norman Bates over there.
I mean, I just could never imagine doing that.
No.
Especially to like my goddamn family.
Yeah.
Like that was like my thing. I could tell like obviously like when I showed it, he was instantly annoyed like when the mom started playing with the kids. He just wanted them to get in trouble, and then they continued to do their stuff and whatnot. But definitely a mama's boy, but to like a toxic point.
To an incredibly toxic point. Keeps her alive and then makes his hooker girlfriend dress up as his mom. I was like,
he literally lost his goddamn.
I was like, Oz, buddy, you got problems. You got problems.
He does. There's a few screws loose up in there.
A few. Gosh, it's so interesting. But no, excellent show. I really, really enjoyed it. Now there's just like a void in my life from having that week to week. I know Dune Prophecy ain't going to be stepping it up to this level.
I haven't watched it.
I haven't, but I just have a good feeling. Okay. I'm always open to be surprised. It starts tonight.
That's the best way to do it.
If anything, I'll at least get a rewatch of the Dune movies out of it. So
yeah, there's nothing wrong with that.
I mean, don't get me wrong, I'm hyped on it just because, like we talked about before, it's like delving into what I enjoyed so much about the Dune movies.
Yeah,
but that's not always a good thing necessarily.
No, that's not. No, we'll see what they do. We'll see if it's kind of like a cash grab type situation, just using the popularity of Dune to just push more money, or if it's actually
worth it,
gonna have any sort of like significance to the actual story. We'll see.
We'll see.
I might watch it.
I mean, I will for sure. Week to week, but Philip will tell you all about it in a few months. So. Yeah. Until then, I guess that's it. Heading into week 7.
Oh yeah, it's gonna be a fun week.
I'll be an older man the next time we reconvene.
Won't we all?
I won't be. I'll have left my 20s behind.
Your youthful 20s will be a thing of the past.
Yep, and now I begin the middle age, I guess.
You get to start a new chapter of your life.
All new movie, nothing but Oscar-worthy movies from here on. I don't watch fun stuff anymore.
God damn.
I just watch dramas because I'm an adult.
I don't watch childish things. No more sponge
mature movies. Right, I watched enough of those this week. All right, until next time.
Until next time, you guys.
Peace.
Later.